think this is happening. I think that we are on the way to being live, or maybe even live now. This is an extra office hours, and I think I'm going to keep this Tuesdays 3 o'clock for topics. And I was going to say special topics. Oopsie. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm not good at these. I was going to say special topics, but forward and straight isn't a special topic. It is the topic. It is the topic of writing, and it is almost extinct in writing. And I want it to not be extinct. And I think neither do you, but it hasn't been attended to properly. There hasn't been care given that it is passed on to the last several generations of riders as carefully as it was in the past. And my opinion is the reason is that horses aren't for utility anymore. They're for sport and for looking good. But when a horse sees an obstacle, guess what they do? They straighten themselves and they go forward to it. When a horse sees a cow or knows which one it has to separate from the herd, the horse sets himself up to do that, right? So when a horse is walking across the pasture I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to bring up the document we're going to examine. If a horse is walking across a pasture towards the gate and you're at the gate with a bucket of grain, that horse, he marches himself forward straight. Absolutely. He is going there. He's bringing himself there. And he doesn't waste time stepping sideways or going on. Boom. 2 tracks. Right hind to right front, left hind to left front, forward straight. So we are going to, how do I do whiteboard? We are going to, on Tuesdays, until it's done, for a few minutes every Tuesday, we are going to go through existing whiteboards. We are going to go through Gustav Steinbrecht's explanation of ride your horse forward and set it straight as writ, line by line, and then it will all be said. The key pages are pages 71 through 75 in the English translation of Gymnasium of the Horse. This was written, I think, in 1883. And every master horseman in history knows the motto, ride your horse forward. Why isn't my whiteboard thing working? Ride your horse forward and set it straight. But, oh, here it comes. I just didn't wait long enough. Kind of like riding. How do I want to open the board? Collaborating. Presenting. Open board. Okay. I've never done a whiteboard. We'll see how this goes. It doesn't seem to be working, but probably haven't waited long enough. Okay, so what I'm saying, why doesn't it do it like when I practiced it? That sounds like writing too. Okay, here we go. This is page 71. We're going to start with page 71. We will not get through page 71 today because I am going to go through this winter, and then it'll be once and for all, and there can then therefore be no confusion about what this guy says or what this guy means, because as the weeks go on, you guys can ask questions if you don't understand. Because it is a little dense. The text, it is a little technical, and we're going to go through it slowly and carefully. This statement, the rider trainer has achieved his aim and fully trained his horse when both forces of the hindquarters, the propulsive force and the carrying power, bound with elasticity, are fully developed, and when the trainer can use and balance the effect of these forces exactly and at will, or in precise ratios and at will. That is from earlier in his book. I think it's page 54. That is something he said that has been translated to many other sources, such as the Vorendorf Advanced Techniques Manual. Okay, I'm probably boring you with that, but the reason I'm making a point about this is that this here that he has in, I hope you guys are seeing this whiteboard. Am I sharing it? Just as that's his quote there that I just read about the two forces of the hindquarters. This quote, ride your horse forward and set it straight, it's not Steinbrecht's quote. That is the principle of riding, the first main principle of riding that every serious or actual rider knows and is committed to. I think it's safe to say that this is riding. Ride your horse forward and set it straight is riding. Okay, I'm now having anxiety that this whiteboard isn't being viewed by you guys. Let me see something. Pages, presentation, pages. I think I'm going to go to a different thing that I know works. And that, yeah, I'm going to share this in a share screen instead of the whiteboard because I'm scared that you're not seeing the whiteboard. And I don't know how to check for that. So, and if this is hard on you guys, just imagine what it's like to teach writing all day long. Sharing your screen will close the whiteboard for everyone. Do I want to continue? Continue. Now I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to go to show self view. Oh, there I am. You know what? We're going to just stay with this whiteboard. I think you guys can see it. Okay. I don't need that thing. What is all that over there? Why do we have all that? Okay. Let me just make this part. This is like having to watch people learning to ride. You guys watching me with the computer. So, ride your horse forward and set it straight is not Steinbrecht's. It is not German. The French bring it up. The Austrians bring it up. Every cavalry in history brings it up because it is the way. It is the way that a horse is designed by God and uses themselves well. Think of what I just said about the horse walking through the pasture towards the bucket of grain. The horse knows where he's going there, and he's making the best use of his own body. Okay, it's really important because ride your horse forward and set it straight is for all of us. It's for hunters, it's for jumpers, it's for polo, it's for Western, it's for stock horses, it's for dressage horses, it's for eventing horses, it's even for driving horses and horses that are not being ridden. Horses must go forward or straight, or they will either break down or go AWOL, for lack of a better word. Horses that are forward and straight are, I think we could say, essentially trained. Yeah, a horse that is forward straight is trained. So what I would urge is that when he urges that we ride our horse forward and set it straight, is that when you are out and about in the horse world, I think this is the safest criteria to ask someone, do you follow this first main principle of riding? Do you train this first main principle of riding? Do you believe it? Do you think it's important? And if it is a student instead of a other professional, the question would be, has this been imparted to you in a way that you can ride the horses forward and set them straight? Now, once we forward and straight are, they co-act and they support each other. So the more a straight horse is better pure forward because he's carrying more efficiently. And a horse really can't be straightened unless he's going forward. So we are now going to examine this wonderful description. So even though all of these, every legitimate horseman in history follows this adage, ride your horse forward and set it straight. And even though Steinbrecht didn't coin that phrase, his explanation in these 5 pages that I'm going to go through on Tuesdays this winter is the best and most thorough explanation I know. And it's worth investing a semester in. Okay, this is Steinbrecht's voice now. When I say riding forward, I do not mean driving the horse forward in some hectic fast or most extended gaits, but rather, now he's going to tell us, for the rider to take care to maintain an active thrust of the hindquarters. Thrust is the second of the 2 forces of the hindquarters. Maintain the active thrust of the hindquarters in all exercises, such that not only in movements in place, so this horse, that we're maintaining the active thrust, that not only in movements in place, but as he's advancing forward, movements in place, even when he's moving backwards, the forward motion, the carrying of hindquarters remain that he maintains this desire to advance the load. So if he's standing still, he still wants to advance the load forward. If he's going backwards, he is taking the load in that direction. He is moving it in a direction. He's not leaning or shifting or pushing. He is accepting the load and advancing it. If he's standing in place, he's accepted the load and he's ready to advance it. He has the desire to move the load forward. And if he's going backwards, which we don't need to pay too much attention to now, he has accepted the load and he is moving the load backwards. He's not just running backwards, avoiding the load or escaping something. He is bringing it back with him, and then he will be able to bring it forward again. If he runs backwards, he won't be able to reverse it and bring it forward. This is why the rein back always includes advancing forward out of it. In the tests, in dressage tests, if you go and look, rein back always includes rein back walk, rein back trot. And the Schaukel, Schaukel, I'm not sure there's a C. I'm pretty sure there's a C though. The Schaukel is a proof of the desire to move the load forward because the rider rides a rein back and immediately forward and a rein back and immediately forward to show that the horse is perfectly managing that load. And that can only happen if the horse has his own desire. His own desire, the horse's mind. It's his he wants to do it. You can't make them. You have to teach them and they decide to do it. And really, that's a big key of submission, that it's a horse, the horse decides he wants to do it. Okay. Now, so I think that I hope I've been clear that this desire to move the load forward, that really defines what this forward idea is. The main point, there's two features of forward, and the main feature is that it's or maybe I should say the first feature is that it is the horse's own desire, his idea. And the second feature is that he's going to carry the load. He's not going to shove it. He's not going to push it. He's not going to run away from it or kick it to one side. He is going to carry or move the load forward himself. So it's a desire to carry, his idea and carrying. So that remains in effect in all exercises. Forward is, if you're going to write this down, forward is the desire to move the load forward. So if you're teaching or you're talking about this with someone and they say, well, I think he did move the load forward. Did he want to? Did the horse do it? You know, if you had to kick the crap out of him to get him to do it or whip him, he didn't have a desire to do it. So the desire to move the load forward, this is where the whole idea of self-carriage comes. And self-carriage is self-carrying. He does it. Now, the way the horse business has been, or the horse industry is, outside of the most disciplined and elite and excellent training stables, hitting this point or arriving in this situation that the horse has his own desire to carry the load, that's when the horse, when it just, you know, when it feels comfortable and like, oh, I like this. This horse is comfortable and rideable. And people have just been accepting that it's a happenstance or that it is luck or that only certain horses do it or that only comfortable horses do it or that my horse is too complicated or blah, 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 blah. And so the having horses that are actually carrying themselves has become so rare, and horse people seem to just accept this as the status quo, like, oh, okay, I'll have to train another 5 years, or oh, it happened for 20 seconds in my third canter circle. Well, that would be a long time on one circle, you know what I mean? But this desire, I guess what I'm trying to say is I want you guys to abandon that helpless idea that this is only, you know, a rare pie in the sky type of thing that you could just happen to achieve. This is trainable, teachable. This is what the whole education of the horse is about, to guide him right to this. And my teachers, and especially the major, the very first step, we get on, they're carrying us. Now that's to degrees. I'm not going to make him be in high collection at the mounting block. I warm up to that. But the desire, and when your seat becomes more accustomed to the forward riding system and this first main principle that we ride horses forward and set them straight, your seat will feel, oh, yeah, he's carrying me, even though he's 28 years old and sort of inching along. The desire to move the load forward. So a very decrepit horse can still have the desire to advance the load. So in all exercises has been underlined, because it's all the time, every exercise, every turn, every line. It's not just for 10 seconds once a month. It's not just if you happen to get all the little pieces the right way, just accidentally. It is a logical, principle, and mechanical event that we train for and educate for. All right. I think that I'm going to stay in this one single sentence today and save the second sentence of this first paragraph for next week, because there's something very important about the way this man said this to us. Remember, he is telling us how to do this. And he chose his words. He didn't just blah, 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 blah. He said what he did not mean. He's not talking about hectic, frantic riding, but rather for the rider to take care. We take care to maintain. And this has been brought to my attention in all my learning, that we take care to maintain. And that means we have to have our attention on it. We have to be able to help them with it. We have to catch it early if they start to lose it. And when a horse starts to lose the carrying, is that because he daydreamed, or because it was too much for him, or because he doesn't understand? So all of these things require us as riders to take care, to be attentive. God forbid me, I'm going to say it, to be intentional. But we take care, and we take care of this active thrust and this desire to move the load forward. We nurture it, we build it. So at the beginning, so there's two forces of the hindquarters. There's the carrying force, the carrying power, and the propulsive force. Propulsive force is also known as thrust. The carrying power, desire to carry, the desire to move the load forward, governs the thrust. It takes care of the thrust. It regulates it and adjusts it. And it even, when we take care, nurtures it, because by governing the thrust by deliberate incremental carrying, by increasing the load, this starts to train the thrust, and the horse starts to be able to, I'm carrying, and now the degree of carrying allows the thrust to become regulated. So we're going to take a higher, taller step with that thrust. Now sit down, collect again, carry again. Now let it all out in an extended jump, say. So I hope I'm making sense. It's really hard to know when I'm on this thing, but I'm just going to repeat it a bunch of times to make sure I am. The carrying power, the desire to move the load or advance the load, that's desire to carry. The carrying of the horse governs the active thrust. And I'm going to rewrite or write in the margin of Steinbrecht. I think you guys will know why at some point soon. The carrying governs the thrust. It takes care of the thrust. It never suppresses the thrust. We'll get to that next week. We don't overdo it, and we don't suppress or harm the thrust. Carrying takes care of the thrust. It even makes the thrust more active. It makes the thrust more precise. It makes the thrust adjustable. It makes it stronger. It makes it quicker and more active and alive. The two forces of the hindquarters, carrying power and the thrust co-act. The horse must have his own desire to access his carrying power in the uppermost joints of his hindquarters, the coxofemoral joints. And when he understands what's going on and makes the big decision to let us start to train those joints to more beautifully and perfectly manage that thrust, that is submission. So it's not a defeat. He's thought, this is actually pretty cool and feels good, and I understand it, and I'm good at it. I want to do this more. He now has a desire to carry. This is always a little weird for me, just talking into a screen like this. There is not a more important idea in writing. And as the first main principle of the program I operate, I urge every rider to make sure your teachers are teaching you the first main principle of the art, sport, discipline, and method of riding. Forward and set it straight. Now, we are not going to probably even get to straight for 2 weeks, because next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to talk about this second sentence of this paragraph. The horse must therefore be enabled through practice to restrain its thrust to the utmost by increasing the load. I think we touched on that. Now, these are my parentheses, but thrust should never be suppressed by overdoing it. Okay, that sentence, you can see this sentence at play in the careers of great riders, and the second half of the sentence in the careers of fake ass ones. Okay, I don't know. I kind of like this. My earring just fell off. Onward we go. We will address this second sentence next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I'll be quizzing you on it.